Good morning. Today we are going to talk about carbonates and how they react with acids. You know that when you open a can of cola or any fizzy drink has been shaken, small bubbles caused by shaking help to speed up the escape of the soda's carbon dioxide. Cans of carbonated soft drinks contain carbon dioxide under pressure so that the gas dissolves in the liquid drink. Once the can is opened, all of the gas will eventually escape from the liquid as bubbles. If the liquid is handled gently, it takes a long time for the dissolved gas to escape. If the can is shaken, however, or if the liquid is poured quickly into a glass, then the bubbles formed by turbulence provide an easier way for the dissolved gas to escape. So, fizzy drinks are also known as carbonated drinks because of the carbon dioxide gas which dissolved in it. So again, when you open a can of cola has been shaken, small bubbles caused by shaking help to speed up the escape of the soda's carbon dioxide. Cans of carbonated soft drinks contain carbon dioxide under pressure so that the gas dissolves in the liquid drinks. Once the can is opened, all of the gas will eventually escape from the liquid as bubbles. Okay. Now, we use carbonate to describe chemicals which have carbonate group, which is CO3 minus 2. For example, we have calcium carbonate, CaCO3, and zinc carbonate, ZnCO3, iron carbonate, FeCO3, hydrogen carbonate, H2CO3. But the question now is, what will happen to carbonates when we add any acid, such as hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, or sulfuric acid? Okay, to answer this question, let's watch this video.
Let us try an experiment to see how an acid reacts with metal carbonates. A metal carbonate is a metal combined with carbon and oxygen, like copper carbonate, calcium carbonate. You can take hydrochloric acid, calcium carbonate, beaker, and a matchbox. Take some calcium carbonate in the beaker. Add hydrochloric acid to it. A gas is formed and released. Light the match and bring it close to the mouth of the beaker, and it extinguishes. This gas is carbon dioxide. This comes from the reaction of calcium carbonate with hydrochloric acid, which forms calcium chloride, carbon dioxide, and water. A metal carbonate reacts with acid. Carbon dioxide gas is released, and a salt is formed. You can try similar experiments with other carbonates and acids.
Okay. As you watched in the video, we always get carbon dioxide gas given off when we react a carbonate with an acid. A salt and water also formed, and the general equation of this reaction is carbonate and acid will produce a salt and carbon dioxide and water. So as you watched in the video, he reacted calcium carbonate with hydrochloric acid to produce a salt. Here the type of the salt should be the same of the type of carbonate and the acid. So we have calcium carbonate, so the name of the salt will start with calcium, and the acid, hydrochloric acid, when it reacts with anything, it will turn into chloride. So calcium chloride is a salt. then will produce water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so here the name of the salt formed in an acid carbonate reaction depends on which carbonate and which acid are used. So hydrochloric acid forms a chloride, nitric acid forms a nitrate, and sulfuric acid forms a sulfate. Now let's complete the equations which contain carbonate and acid. Let's start with the first one. Zinc carbonate, when it reacts with sulfuric acid, so the type of carbonate here is zinc carbonate. So the salt will start with zinc, and the type of acid, sulfuric acid. So zinc and sulfuric, after producing the product, will name a sulfate. So zinc sulfate with carbon dioxide and water. Iron carbonate, also with nitric acid. Iron is the type of carbonate, iron carbonate, and the type of acid is nitric acid. Iron with nitric acid, that will produce iron nitrate and water carbon dioxide. The third equation, magnesium carbonate with hydrochloric acid. Magnesium with hydrochloric, that will produce magnesium chloride, water and carbon dioxide. Try to do the last two equations, sodium carbonate and sulfuric acid, magnesium carbonate and nitric acid. Then check your answer from this page. Okay, so sodium carbonate and sulfuric acid will produce sodium sulfate, water and carbon dioxide. Magnesium carbonate, that will produce magnesium nitrate with water and carbon dioxide. Okay. Now, here is some information about some metal carbonates. We have 5 metal carbonates, which are calcium carbonate, copper carbonate, potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate, and zinc carbonate. And some properties of those metal carbonate, like colors, if it's soluble in water or not, decomposes with heat, and the last thing, reacts with dilute acids or not. If you look at the first property, which is color, you will notice that most of them are white, and only copper carbonate is green. What about soluble in water? Calcium carbonate, copper carbonate, and zinc carbonate, they are insoluble in water, but we have 2 carbonates are soluble in water, which are potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. What about decomposes when heated? That means they broke down when heat. So potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate don't decompose when heated, but other carbonate decompose when heated. The last thing, you will notice that all carbonates react with dilute acids. So here we have some questions about this table. Which of the following statements are true and which are false? Let's start with the first one. All metal carbonates are insoluble in water. All metal carbonates are insoluble in water. So if you look at the table, you will find that we have 2 carbonates are soluble in water. So this sentence is false, because potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate are soluble in water, and the question is all metal carbonates are insoluble in water, which is wrong. So the answer here is false. The second one, most metal carbonates are white. If you look at the table, also you will find that the color of most of metal carbonate is white. So this sentence is true. The third one, all metal carbonates react with acids. So all metal carbonates, if you look at the table, you will find that all of them react with acids. So this sentence also is true. The fourth sentence, all metal carbonates decompose when heat. All metal carbonates decompose when heated. So this sentence is not correct, it's false, because if you look at the table, you will find that we have three carbonates decompose when heated, which are calcium, copper, and zinc. But the last two carbonates, potassium and sodium carbonates, they don't decompose when heated. So the last sentence is not correct, so it's false. Okay, now here we have some notes about calcium carbonate. So when calcium carbonate is placed in dilute hydrochloric acid, a chemical reaction takes place. So calcium carbonate, we can find calcium carbonate in marble chips, in chalk, and in limestone. So those three stones, marble chips, chalk, and limestone, all are made up mainly of calcium carbonate. So bubbles of gas appear on the surface of the carbonate. So when calcium carbonate react with hydrochloric acid, direct carbon dioxide gas will produce. So bubbles of gas appear on the surface of the carbonate. So those bubbles tell us that the reaction takes place. The third note, that the acid feels warm because heat is given out. So if we touch the acid after making the reaction or after adding it into carbonate, we will find that it's warm because heat is given out after making the reaction. So eventually all of the carbonate dissolves in the acid. So all carbonates dissolves in acid and react with them. Now let's make this practical activity to know if carbonate reacts with acid or not, and what observation tells us that the reaction takes place. So focus on this apparatus. Here we have two tubes. The first tube filled with hydrochloric acid, and we add marble chips. So when we add marble chips which contain calcium carbonate and hydrochloric acid, they will react to produce carbon dioxide. So if you notice inside the tube, we have bubbles. Those bubbles, carbon dioxide bubbles. So they will collect and move into the second tube, which contains lime water. So here we have lime water. So when the carbon dioxide gas reach into the lime water, that will turn the water into milky or cloudy color. So again, here we have two dimension. Marble chips with hydrochloric acid, they will react to produce carbon dioxide gas, and this carbon dioxide will move through the tube into the lime water, and that will turn the lime water into cloudy or milky. Here also the same thing, we have dilute hydrochloric acid added into the flask, into the marble chips, that will produce carbon dioxide gas to collect in this area. So the carbon dioxide gas will collect in this area. Okay, now we have many questions about this practical activity. What observation tells us that the marble chips and acid react together? Direct, when they react, carbon dioxide bubbles will be formed. So the observation that the bubbles are formed. What happens to the lime water? We notice that the lime water turns into milky or cloudy color. What do you observe when the reaction has finished? We observe that we will observe, if we make this practical activity, we will observe that the color of lime water will be changed and the carbon dioxide bubbles will be formed. Okay, so testing for carbon dioxide. We test for carbon dioxide with lime water. As we said, carbon dioxide turns lime water cloudy. This is due to formation of calcium carbonate, which is insoluble in water. So, okay, the lime water turns it cloudy because of carbon dioxide and also because of formation of calcium carbonate, which is insoluble in water. Okay, now let's answer the summary questions together. Copy and complete. Let's start with the first ones. Try to answer them alone, then check your answers with me. All carbonates react with acids to produce a salt, carbon dioxide, and water. We can test for this gas by bubbling it into lime water, which turns cloudy or milky. So, all carbonates react with acids to produce salt, carbon dioxide, gas, and water. And to see or to observe this reaction, we can add it into lime water. So bubbling it into lime water, which turns the lime water into cloudy or milky. Now question number 2. Write a word equation for the reaction of the following carbonates with dilute acids. The first one, zinc carbonate and sulfuric acid. As we said, we take the type of carbonate, which is zinc carbonate. So zinc with type of acid sulfuric, after producing or after reaction, the sulfur will turn into sulfate. So the salt will be zinc sulfate with water and carbon dioxide. What about sodium carbonate and hydrochloric acid? Sodium with chloride, so that will produce salt, has name sodium chloride with water and carbon dioxide. What about magnesium carbonate and nitric acid? Magnesium with nitric acid will produce magnesium nitrate with carbon dioxide and water. So those are the 3 equations. So try to answer them alone, then check your answer from this page. So thank you for listening, study well, and good luck. Goodbye.